Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sam Shepard into the NCHA Members Hall of Fame. Sam grew up in a small Alabama town where his father was the postmaster and Baptist minister. They weren't a horse family, but Sam remembers his first one well.
I was probably 10 years old and always wanted one, and my dad got me one for Christmas. Actually, there were three of us sons that were all within a year or so of each other, and it actually kind of was for all three of us. And we liked to rode it to death, so we wound up having to get some more to go with it.
Sam had an immediate love for horses, and the family acquired more. But it would be quite a few years until Sam was exposed to an equine discipline that would shape the rest of his life.
We had quite a few horses after that, and we had just whatever my dad could afford and whatever we could find. There wasn't a lot of horses available, so some of them were not the best in the world, but we'd get one that was cheap and break it and get it where we could ride it and have fun on it. But I'd never seen a cutting horse until I was 21 years old. Didn't even know what a cutting horse was. And a friend of mine bought one, he had some mares, and he bought a King Glow stud out in West Texas and brought it back to breed his mares too.
Sam was attending Troy University at the time, but when he took a job at the ranch breaking colts, he got his first taste of cutting.
We would go out in the afternoons, and he'd come out and we'd get some cattle up and we'd play around and try to cut. And then I made the mistake of going to a cutting in Dothan, Alabama. They had a big cutting first of the year, and all the top 10 horses would be there. It was at the farm center there, and I showed that old King Glow stud and won a second in the senior cutting, first time I ever showed. Out of 51, Mr. Pat won it, Pat Patterson. And I was hooked then. That was the end of it. From then on, that's all I wanted to do. Although that's not what I did for a living for a long time, but that's what I wanted to do.
With a degree from Troy University under his belt, Sam became the director of a vocational school in Mobile, Alabama.
We had, welding shops, pipe fitting, auto body, all the things that you train people to, post-secondary type trade school, we used to call it, vocational school.
Sam worked in education for 12 years, but the desire to make his living with horses was never far from his mind. He started training horses on the side, but eventually the workload became just too much.
I'd go to the school every morning about 7 and get through it, 3:30 or 4, and then I'd ride horses till 11 o'clock at night. And I finally decided I had to make up my mind to do one or the other. I was kind of stringing myself out a little too thin.
Sam's boss at the Department of Education agreed to give him a year off so he could pursue his training career while still having the option to return if things didn't work out.
Luckily that year I had Doc's Long Oak. I made the finals at the futurity first time. First time I'd ever had a horse really good enough to make the finals. And I called him up and said, you can go ahead and start looking for a director because I'm not coming back. So.
And that decision proved to be a great one, not just for Sam, but for the entire cutting horse industry. At that point, Sam had no idea that he would become a leader who would help guide not only the association, but the industry as a whole. Sam became an NCHA regional director and was eventually elected to the executive committee, and in 1992 took the reins as president of the National Cutting Horse Association. This had become a difficult time for NCHA as the economy had taken a hit, and longtime executive director Zach T. Wood had retired a year earlier.
He was the driving force behind the NCHA until that point. And so it left a pretty big vacuum when he left, and it was probably not the easiest times for the NCHA in general because of that.
With the economy in a slump and the void of Zach no longer being executive director, Sam and a team of dedicated people went to work.
We had to make some hard decisions about as much about cutting cost and helping us get our finances in shape as we did about trying to raise money, and come up with more sponsors and that sort of thing. So I guess that's the part that I remember most, was the financial end of it and trying to get us on a little better footing.
Sam came in as president at a time when tough decisions had to be made, but knowing he was going to do what was best for the association, he didn't back down.
We made some enemies along the way, and we made some people mad. And anytime you're in that kind of position, you're going to do that. I mean, you can't make, it's just like being a judge at a cutting. You're going to have one or two guys that love you, and the rest of them are going to be mad at you because they didn't win. And it's the same way if you're, running. I don't think it's as bad when you have strong leadership in the office. But when there's not strong leadership there, or when you have a vacuum there, then then everything kind of gets pushed down and blamed on the people running. Not just me, but I'm sure Monty and Danny and the executive board and all of us took some of that.
Sam knew that the lack of solid leadership at this point would be devastating to NCHA, so he stuck to his guns, put in the time, and helped get everything pointed in the right direction.
When I became president, I think I had 27 or 28 horses in training, if I remember right, and the day I left, I had 7 horses in training. And it didn't take that long to build it back up, but I really think it was probably not the smartest decision I ever made for my own business, but I'm glad I made it now, and I'm glad that it worked out the way it did.
As a trainer, showman, and teacher, Sam has had great success. His NCHA earnings are over $2.4 million, and in 2009 was the recipient of the Zane Schulte Memorial Award for his integrity and dedication to the sport. He's promoted cutting, conducted clinics, and is always willing to help a newcomer to the sport or offer advice to a seasoned veteran. Sam's son Austin has earned in excess of $6 million and was the 2007 Open Fraternity champion. His son Harris is now starting his career, and Sam's grandkids are already starting to pick up their first checks. Sam has been a tremendous ambassador for the sport of cutting.
I did an interview yesterday with a lady from a magazine, and she asked me to give her a list of contributions I'd made to the association, and I told her, I said, I don't really feel comfortable doing that, and I'm not sure how to do it. But I can tell you that this business has contributed greatly to my well-being over the years. It's been really tremendous for me, the business has, and I feel like I've reaped more benefits from the business than the business has from me, to be honest about it.
Sam, I know there are many people that would highly disagree with that last statement. Sam sacrificed not only his time, but his business while he was acting as president, and his dedication is something we should all be grateful for. We've benefited from his contributions, but there is also something he's gained too.
I've given a lot of consideration to what my life would have been like without the horse business, and all of us, things happen that we don't plan on, and it influences what happens for our entire life, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad for some people. I'm not sure exactly what would have happened, but I don't think I would have been as happy without the horses and without this business as I am with it.
Humble, gracious, and caring are just a few words that describe Sam Shepard. And he's now joining an elite group that has paved the way for this association.
I think the main thing that really makes me feel rewarded by it, and the thing that appeals to me maybe the most, is a lot of the people that I looked up to when I first got in the business, which, like I say, was later in life, in my 20s and 30s, before I even was around cutting horses. But a lot of the people that I idolized at that time and that I looked up to are in that Hall of Fame, and that Members Hall of Fame. People like Jim Reno and Matt Locke and Buster and those kind of guys. So I guess just being included in with that group, like Buster said one time, not many peanut farmers from South Alabama have been successful horse trainers like you. And I thought, that's probably saying something.